Let me share a story with you, a story that might change the way you see yourself and your habits. In this video, you're going to learn things about yourself that you never understood, and I'll give you 6 steps to finally break free from the habit of masturbation this Ramadan. Essentially, you have 2 choices. Either give me just 10 minutes out of your 24-hour day and be liberated from this habit, or leave the video now. I won't lie to you. It's not easy to quit when you're already stuck in it. Imagine, if you will, an emperor from the Middle Ages, a man who could have any woman he desired. This emperor lived for 88 years, indulging in every kind of pleasure and vice, and from the tender age of 12, he was surrounded by beauty and desire. Yet even he would find that in just 10 minutes of focused change, everything could shift. You see, our brains are wired to crave a burst of healthy dopamine when we finally break free from a cycle of constant indulgence. But when you overdo it, when you keep feeding your brain the same old stimulation, it starts to lose its spark. Think of it this way. Imagine living in a house where every day you receive a small gift, say 20 dirhams. Then one day, for some reason, you don't get your usual gift. Your brain, used to that large dose of dopamine, suddenly feels empty. In the same manner, over time, your body becomes desensitized from constant self-indulgence. The natural pleasure of intimacy, a genuine, meaningful connection between 2 people, gets drowned out by a flood of images and sensations. Instead of experiencing a deep, fulfilling release, your mind is overwhelmed with a quantity of dopamine that nature never intended. Soon enough, even a small amount of stimulation feels insufficient, and your body starts to betray you. Your testosterone levels drop, you oversleep for 10 to 12 hours, and you wake up feeling drained. You become timid and unsure, and eventually, every cell in your brain seems to wear down under the strain. Remember, your body has fundamental needs: food, water, sleep, and yes, even healthy sexual intimacy. You can't be starved or parched and then expect to satisfy a craving in a moment. The natural urge for intimacy arises from our basic survival needs, not from an endless artificial cycle of overstimulation. So as you listen to this, know that what you're experiencing isn't true desire. It's a harmful habit that's hijacking your brain's natural reward system. Take a moment to reflect on whether this is really what you want. It might be time to cut out that toxic cycle and reclaim your natural balance. Stay tuned as we dive into the 6 steps that will help you break free. And if you find this story meaningful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to transform your life. Let me tell you a story about how our habits take root and become a part of who we are, and why it's so hard to break free from them. Imagine a pigeon that's been captured and placed in a box. Every time someone pats its belly, a reward it's come to expect, it gets a little thrill, a burst of satisfaction. Over time, whenever hunger strikes, the pigeon instinctively goes to its belly, expecting that familiar reward. But sometimes, the pat never comes, or it only comes once in a while. Eventually, the pigeon becomes so accustomed, even addicted, to that gentle pat that it keeps seeking it, regardless of whether it truly needs food. This is exactly how certain habits work for us. Think about it. Sometimes you might stumble across the perfect video in an instant, and other times you flip through 40 pages without finding one that catches your eye. Everything we do, the cues, the actions, the rewards, is tied to deep-seated needs. And even during Ramadan, when you might think that sexual desire is dampened and the devil's influence is reduced, you can still find yourself mindlessly chasing that same old rush. You become addicted, much like that pigeon, to the habit of seeking that small burst of gratification, even when you're already satisfied. That's why it's nearly impossible to break free from a habit unless you truly understand how habits work and learn to replace them with something new. If you haven't been given a clear step-by-step plan, if you haven't learned to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your own behaviors, you'll keep falling back into those familiar patterns. Think about your day. You check your phone, brush your teeth, go to work or school, all without even thinking about it. Studies show that up to 95% of what you do is automatic, a set of habits formed to conserve energy. Every habit is made up of 3 stages: a cue or signal, the behavior itself, and then the reward, like that pat on the pigeon's belly, which brings a rush of dopamine and makes you feel good. That cue might be as simple as seeing a particular scent, or even catching a glimpse of a girl on the street or on social media. Over time, if you repeat this enough, that cue becomes ingrained, triggering the habit every time. And here's the real challenge. Once a habit becomes part of your identity, it's almost impossible to shake it off unless you consciously replace it with something else. So before you try to break free, understand that you're not just fighting a behavior, you're fighting a piece of who you are. This story isn't just an anecdote, it's a glimpse into the science behind our everyday actions. So if you've ever wondered why it's so hard to change, remember the pigeon in the box and the powerful role that unconscious habits play in your life. Let me share a story about breaking free from a deeply ingrained habit, a journey of rewiring your mind and reclaiming control over your life. Step 1. Imagine taking a few seconds each time you feel that urge. Pause and ask yourself, where exactly is this desire rooted? Is it tied to a particular place or set of cues? Think back to all those signals you've encountered, those triggers from social media, for instance. The first step is simple. Remove all those cues. Change your environment. Cut out the images of girls on social platforms. Basically, eliminate everything that constantly reminds you of that habit. I know it sounds tough, but the harder you make it for yourself, the more likely you are to break free. For example, picture forcing yourself to only act when you have to use soap, and you have to leave your home to get it. Every time the urge strikes, you must walk to a nearby store, buy soap, and then return. After a week, you'll either grow tired of the inconvenience or feel too embarrassed to keep doing it. That's the power of removing cues. Step 2. Now, let's talk about dopamine, the chemical reward that fuels your habits. Imagine rewiring your brain so that you no longer get that intense rush from your usual triggers. Instead of letting your dopamine levels spike every time, you train your brain to seek simpler, healthier rewards. One idea is to purposely schedule your habit. Say, do it at the very end of the day, just before Ramadan begins, so that you can gradually build resistance during the fasting month. Over time, by deliberately cutting off that excessive dopamine surge, you can reprogram your mind to crave something more natural and less destructive. Step 3. Next, break the grip of the habit itself, those persistent, sticky routines that feel like an unbreakable ticket attached to your identity. The trick is to replace that old habit with new positive routines that redefine who you are. Instead of letting that secret habit dominate your life, begin to cultivate new behaviors that build a better identity. Step 4. During Ramadan, think about how you manage your meals. What if you prepared for your evening fast in a way that eases your cravings? When you're already feeling full from the day's fasting, your body won't crave that unhealthy surge. Instead, schedule a small, satisfying snack before going to bed, one that's wholesome and controlled. This way, you trick your body into feeling content without overindulging. Learn to control your impulses so that your mind isn't hijacked by a constant need for instant gratification. Step 5. Your goal in life shouldn't solely be to eliminate that habit. Instead, set new, meaningful goals, like memorizing the Quran or learning something new. If you focus only on getting rid of that habit, you'll always be reminded of it. By channeling your energy into other ambitions, you create space for healthier rewards and redirect that dopamine into something truly fulfilling. Step 6. Finally, let me share a lesson from a man once admired by the Prophet, peace be upon him, a man who, despite being dear to the Prophet, was known for his lack of self-control due to his constant indulgence in alcohol. He became notorious for his public beatings, a punishment that served as a warning. The Prophet said, "Do not curse him, for he loves Allah and His Messenger." In a way, this story reminds us that even when we fall prey to our darkest habits, there's a lesson to be learned, a chance to understand that every habit, no matter how ingrained, is ultimately replaceable. And here's the crucial point. Don't be fooled into thinking that simply avoiding certain triggers, like cutting out Instagram or Facebook, will solve your problem entirely. This video isn't just about stopping masturbation, it's about understanding and dismantling every cue that feeds into your habit. Social media is the biggest cue of all, and you must learn how to break free from its hold. So take a good look at your daily routines. Notice the little signals that trigger you, like a familiar scent or a fleeting image, and realize that these are the habits that have taken over your life. Once you understand them, you can begin to dismantle their power step by step. Remember, this isn't an overnight fix, it's a journey of transformation. If you're ready to change, if you're willing to put in the work, you can rewire your brain and reclaim your life. Stay tuned for more insights and strategies to break free from destructive habits. And if you find this message helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening, and here's to a brighter, healthier tomorrow.